Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Reality Speaks. We're going to now also call it a virtual community center for us to gather and do a group think and conduct a workshop where we can all pitch in down the road. We're going to have guests prayerfully. That's our agenda. We have a long list of guests, of influential people to share their experiences with us and their expertise. We're working on that as well. So today is January 15th.
Today is
January 15th, Saturday, 10:01.
Happy birthday, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Is it today's birthday?
Today is the day, that actual day. You know, they have an observance the following Monday.
Okay.
But the actual day is January 15th.
Okay. So that's right, Monday is the holiday.
Yes, it
National
is.
holiday, okay.
And it's also my nephew Yashawn's birthday.
Okay.
He's also born on this day.
Okay.
Happy birthday, y'all.
So you're with the Yakarious and Sparkle, also hashtag Spark Plenty, right?
Right.
Okay. And we're here with our second installation, or our second installation, or our second episode of Reality Speaks. So today, what we want to do is start a conversation pertaining to relationships, and it's a big subject, so it's going to be ongoing. We're going to touch different aspects of relationships, but today I wanted to start a conversation about how do we work out our differences as we work through relationships, because there's always going to be disagreements, there's always going to be arguments and debates, stemming from, in some cases, the individual wanting to have it their way, used to a certain lifestyle. We brought up in a home and we used to things going a certain way. We can argue about the way things is cleaned and washed, and it just could go on and on. And we can take the minor thing and turn it into something major just because we want to have our way and want to be stubborn. And there's many aspects to it, but I would like to talk about how we could work through these differences without it becoming the end of the relationship.
That's true. It's
Right.
so easy to give up.
It's so easy, yeah.
And be like, let's
Yeah.
break up and
Yeah.
take all your stuff and
Yeah.
move out.
Yeah.
That's not the
Yeah.
answer, because you're gonna miss one another, and that's not what the heart truly wants. How do we follow our heart and then be sensible at the same time, pretty much?
Yeah. But this is a relative topic because, and let me just explain what relative means to me. Relative to me means it's an individual thing. It's up to the individual. It depends on what you've gone through in your life, how much you're willing to tolerate. There's no cookie cutter answer here. There's never going to be when it comes to relationships and what a person should do. We can discuss the best options. We can discuss what we would do, but that doesn't make it right for the next person.
That's correct.
A person could have went through 10 years of domestic violence, and, we may end up suggesting that if the person looks good, but you're afraid, something tells you in your gut that he may be violent down the road,
That's
then
right.
you should follow that gut. We're never going to discourage that, There's just some things that's relative, and that's what it means. It depends on you as an individual. So there's no clear-cut answer. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers.
I see that sometimes it seems as if we enter relationships or stay in relationships of a fear of being lonely, being alone. So we might settle for things that we normally might not settle for. That's one part.
Right.
The other part is that when we get together and we notice that some of the factors of our past, some of the things that happened in past relationships that kind of weathered our trust, makes it a little bit more challenging for us to trust another person. And just experiences from the past, we seem to bring that to the future. And what do you think about that?
Well, and that opens up a lot of doors. So for me, what comes to my mind right away, and it could be different from each person that's hearing this, depending on our relative experiences, right? But for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is that when you're in love with someone, it's a very powerful thing. And so in some cases, especially a lot of women and men as well, don't feel secure enough that they'll be able to find someone again, and or find that type of love again. So as a result, and I'm gonna include myself in there, we end up tolerating more than normal in some cases when there's love involved. So that's the thing. And then there's insecurity. It's clear that the man doesn't care and love the woman because he's always out cheating and running around and being very verbally abusive, in some cases physically. But for some reason, we keep thinking, no, but this person loves me, and we even go so far to say it's my fault. That's why he's beating on me. And so, and we make excuses. Well, I have children with him. I don't want to break the family up. And so we end up using all these excuses as to why we should no longer be happy in life, and why we should put up with abuse and or maybe not even abuse, just a relationship that we're not happy in. But I think also that there needs to be more communication. I think there's a lot of communication lacking in relationships, and that's just another ongoing thing from, what you want sexually in the bed instead of just tolerating not being happy sexually, to, telling the person what you like and don't like about them, and what you don't like about yourself, and what you want to change about yourself. It has to be, as you say, fair and equal. It can't just be one side, one person pointing the finger at the other.
Yeah.
And I did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No.
Because and just with this last thought, I think that pointing the fingers is a very bad habit. I'm presently trying to break myself out of that. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where I got that from. But I love something that Stephen Covey, he has a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I suggest that you read the book. But for some reason, he threw in about habits of couples. And one of the things that stuck out to me was he was saying that what we do as couples is we'll put a problem that we have. Say, an imaginary table is here. We'll put the problem on this table, and then we'll both sit on each side of the table and push the problem back and forth. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your problem, my problems, And what he says, in order to be successful as a couple, you sit together on the same side of the table and say, how can we handle our problem? You make it our problem. Now, this perspective stops you from spending a whole lot of time pointing fingers. No, it's you. No, it's yours. No, it's ours. So how do we work through it together? It's a very difficult thing to do because I don't know what it is about human nature. We want to be right. And it happens in relationships, right? We just want to be right.
That's it.
So what do you think about that? This pointing finger.
I think that the pointing finger is important because when you're in a relationship, you become one with the person. So I feel like there's no enemies in a relationship, only inner me's, meaning the inner you. So the person that you're involved with intimately, psychologically, spiritually, a lot of the times can just point out things that you don't desire about yourself or that you find undesirable about yourself. So instead of facing you per se, like the man in the mirror, you're actually facing your partner. So if you're pointing a finger at your partner about something that you might not like, honestly, it's time to do some intake about what we don't like about ourselves and try to adapt to that way. I really am a firm believer of leading by example. So sometimes we have to be the leader by example when we don't want to be, right? We'd rather our partner change their ways or their habits, so that way you don't have to worry about that with them. But what about you? What are you giving your partner to make the partner even per se point the finger at you? So that's what I think about that. Like, I feel like a relationship is a lot like a mirror, most especially if you allow the person in. That's why it's important that we use clean mirrors. Like if you look into a mirror, we don't like it cloudy. If it's cloudy, we grab something to clean it up with, so we can get a clearer picture of what we want to see, to make sure that it's transparent, it's clear. And I would think that a relationship should be that way in order for it to have no flaws. And it's very rare to have a flawless relationship because we're all dealing with something that we're pointing the finger at someone else for, instead of taking responsibility for ourselves. So you said something about like maybe confidence, or a relationship being unstable, maybe from like self-esteem issues too, right? I'm thinking about that. How do we see ourselves? What do we think about ourselves before we even enter a relationship? Because a lot of times things that pointed fingers can point out what we don't like about ourselves.
Right. So you said a couple good things. The projecting, they call that projecting. When you project yourself on other people, it's like a projection. And so usually when you meet someone and you say, man, something about that person I don't like, it's usually something that you see in yourself. It's a character. This is what you said. It's a behavior.
Yes.
It's a character flaw, and we're not even conscious of the fact that it's something that we see in ourselves. And so when you're in an intimate relationship with someone and you see, for example, if you're the type of person like me that have cheated in the past, then I'm going to be looking for someone who's, when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to be looking to see if they're cheating, because I know what I'm capable of. And I know everything I would be doing, so I'm looking for that in that person. I'm projecting myself on them. And as you were saying, instead of putting the focus on me, I'm putting the focus on to make sure that you're not doing it, because and so that's just one thing. And I think you also was implying that there's a benefit in going through changes in the relationship and arguing and going through the pain of it. And we've discussed this, and so you had implied that, but I just want to mention that everybody's not ready for that. Everybody's not going to survive going through, purposely going through pain in a relationship just to get it kind of out the way and to get to know one another and see what you're built like. Everybody is not going to survive that, And,
And I would just like to say, Mercury is in retrograde as of yesterday, so this is not the best time to even start a new relationship. It's actually the best time to look at your exes and your relationships. Whoever you were with in the past, kind of like reanalyze things, an opportunity to reform yourself, right? Like, so we would go back in time. So Mercury affects communication, right? Mercury affects communication, travel, and things like that, technology. And retrograde means going back. So typically it's like retro, back. So during retrograde, you would go back to, tie up some loose ends, visit people that you haven't visited in a long time, relatives, friends, call them up on the phone, see how they're doing. It's not the ideal time to sign contracts, do anything new, start anything new. But this is the time to, see where your exes are, people that you can't stop thinking about, see how far they have traveled on their journey, check up on them, say hi, say bye. This is the time to kind of like refresh your contacts, get rid of people, review everything that you've been doing, but not start anything new. Also not a time to have surgery. Like if you have to get some severe surgery done, not the time. Try to reschedule it if you can. Also, we'll talk more about it another second, but I just wanted to let everybody know it started yesterday and it's going to last for about 3 weeks. And I have those dates and some more specifics to help educate people about Mercury in retrograde. I'm really into things like that. And I really feel like astrology is a specified blueprint for all of us, and it can help us through our journey. And that's what I have to say about that. Don't start anything new, ladies and gentlemen. Just go back to visit what things were and see how you can make some changes there.
So, without taking up too much of your time, let me go back to the relationships, and I did have some afterthoughts while Sparkle was talking. One is that this is a question. This is to start a conversation. We're not going to try to answer it today. We can make a comment, but this could be an ongoing question. So how do you move past, if you're in a relationship with someone that hurt you, they lied to you, they cheated on you, whatever it is, stole from you, whatever it is that they did to hurt you or cause you pain, and they continue to do it, but then at some point they say they're not going to do it anymore. How do you move past that if they're actually honestly trying to move past it. How do you forget? And how do you move past? I was thinking that when you said retrograde. And
Yes.
going back, looking at your exes, but how about the looking back and, at the past of a relationship you're in presently? And how do you move past that? We want to kind of put that on the table and start that conversation because it's a roadblock. Like some people just can't, can't forgive, can't move past. And it raises questions as to how important is your loved one to you. How much have you invested in a relationship? Do you see the potential for the change? And if so, is it going to be worth you trying to forgive this person or them forgiving you or forgiving each other and moving past it and not make it a non-matter moving forward? Are we able to do this in our relationships? We just want to look at some ways that we can save some real precious relationships because some of these love affairs is hard to find. You don't find it in everyone. When you find someone that you truly love and care for and like, that's the key for me. You like this person, you don't mind being around this person. When you like this person, you have to value that because you don't like everybody you be around. And we know we don't get along with everybody that we try to become intimate with. Just because they look good, sometimes you find out there's no chemistry. There's no vibe or the energy don't match.
That's a waste of time.
Yeah, so if you have somebody, if you're in that demographic of people and you're going through some changes, we want to see if we can put some stuff on the table, start some conversations on how we can correct this. Because a lot of times, like Sparkle says, the enemy, that's the enemy. We stop ourselves from moving forward because we're just stubborn or our ego or we just want to be right at any cost. Even if it means losing you, I'm gonna be right, or just sometimes
that should be very interesting.
Right. And sometimes we just take a minor issue and make it into something major. We're not gonna like everything about a person we're in a relationship with, and just because we're getting tired of the stuff we don't like about this person, when we meet somebody new, I guarantee you there's gonna be some stuff you don't like. That's just human nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to, are we capable or able to deal with people when we don't like things about them? But what it should be is, do I love you enough and do I like you enough to overlook what it is that I don't like about you? That's the level. That's how.
Yeah, that sounds like some good conversation.
And if you can't do that, if you can't reach that level of, well, I'm gonna overlook, I love you enough, because that's what unconditional love is too, right? With the children.
That's
I love you whether you do right or wrong, but you're my child. But our love affairs is almost close to that.
There's so many different levels to that, Yakarious, because what I think about that? I think about the root of the issue. Like, I'm really looking forward to these type of topics because we don't necessarily have to deal with the root of maybe the facts of the root, because that would take a lot of time in every individual. But I would like to think that perhaps maybe the person who's rendering a not so great relationship now perhaps didn't have a not so great childhood. Maybe an absent father, absent mother, addicted mother. Like it was some type of dysfunction that led them to the dysfunction in their adult relationship. Yeah. A lot of the times we don't seek professional help for the trials and tribulations and the trauma and drama that it caused us. So therefore, moving forward and trying to have a healthy relationship in an adult life can become a challenge. Yeah. So I feel like a root to a lot of the issue has things to do with our mental health currently, or perhaps our past that keeps on coming back to haunt us in the current situation, which can be detrimental to the relationship.
I agree with you 100%. And so, you just prompted me to just mention the word ecosystem. I don't know if you ever heard it before. Ecosystem is something you hear. It's a term that they use about how everything in nature works together. Uh-huh. It's a system. Like we all depend on each other. That's why I say ecosystem. So in case you didn't know that, like we depend on things out there like the air. And the trees depend on us for carbon monoxide and it gives us back oxygen. So we have a relationship with the trees. That's part of the ecosystem. Everything that you see plays a part we may not see it. The squirrels, the skunks, the mice, the ants, the roaches. Everybody plays a role, even though we may not like it. It's part of a big system like where they contribute somehow to make all nature work. So with that said, there's kind of like an ecosystem in relationships. Like you start out as a child seeing what's going on in your house, right? That's the first part of the system you see. That's your first image of a relationship. So if you see your mother and father arguing all the time, all right, or physically fighting, right, or your father getting drunk and coming home, or no father at all, this is the system, this is part of the system we're growing up with. They said, if you don't know no better, you can't do no better. Well, if you've never seen a relationship before, how you going to know what one is like in your real lifetime? We see them in movies and TV, but then that's a lot of fake stuff. It doesn't prepare you for the work you have to put in, the sacrifices you have to make, and the compromises that need to be made in order to be with a relationship. You don't get that. We have to get that at home. We have to see that at home. We don't see it being done at home. Therefore, we don't build up the strength and the tools to do it. So that's part of the ecosystem. Then we go out and we meet men and women that don't treat us good. They don't know what they got baggage. We got baggage. We bring in baggage. We secretly in love with somebody else, but we selling for this person. We comparing because this person was a great lover. He was just a creep. Now we're going, he's a nice guy, but he ain't a good lover. So we have to deal with that. How do we move forward with that? And, the list goes on and on of the dynamics, and then you have some women get assaulted. You have to deal with that. You take a risk every time you meet a person, you're alone with them. And the list goes on and on in relationships. So, you end up having a child with somebody and it was a mistake. Now you feel like you stuck with them. It's an ecosystem. There's a lot of different ways we can look at it. And we don't have enough time today, but I want to end with that. Unless you have a final thought.
No, that was a great final thought. I'm just looking forward to conversing, having a conversation about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really getting me inspired to keep showing up. It's your lady, Sparkle Plenty. And it was really good to be with you on this segment of Reality Speaks. We're coming back with you with interviews like Yakarious mentioned earlier today, as well as other things. Look forward to this community center. What did you call us? Virtual
community center.
I'm jacking that.
Come hang out. Come hang out. And when you come, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Come on, help us grow. You grow, we grow. We're going to grow together. That's all about growth for the people, man.
Each one teach one and reach one until all of us know. Peace and blessings.
Peace out.